Hey you, it's time to let go now. Wherever you've been today, you don't have to be there anymore. This is your moment to melt into the dark, to drift, to float, to rest. Take a deep breath in. Let it fill you. Hold, and now exhale. Like smoke curling from a quiet flame. Another deep breath. Softer this time. Let your chest go light. Let your shoulders sink. You're safe now. You're home. Tonight, I'll take you somewhere soft and old and full of candlelight, where wax is poured by moonlight and runes glow faintly in the dark. A little village tucked high in the mountains. So close your eyes, dear listener, and come with me. Our story tonight begins with a candle. Our story begins in the velvet hush of the 14th century. Our story today begins in a tiny village, nestled deep within the arms of the Western Mountains. It lies so far from the main roads that even the tax riders forget it's there. No horses clatter down these cobbled lanes, only the gentle creak of wooden carts and the occasional sigh of a spinning wheel from an open window. Here, the wind moves slowly, whispering through trees with old leaves that never seem to fall. The air smells of pine resin and bread baked with honey, and something else, too. Something warm and clean, like beeswax warmed by fire. A crooked chimney puffs out curls of pale smoke into the dusk. At the very edge of the village stands a cottage, rounder than most, with a red shingle roof and low walls made of river stone. Though everyone calls him simply the candle maker, he is as much a part of the village as the church bell and the hawthorn tree. This is where Master Aliort lives. Long after supper is cleared and shutters are drawn closed, Aliort begins his work. No one remembers a time before him, and every night. You see, in this time before gaslights or lamp scandals were precious, each one had to be made by hand. The process was slow and oddly beautiful. Tallow, taken from sheep or cattle, would be gently melted over flame in a copper basin. Then, cotton wicks were dipped, again and again and again. With every dip, the candle grew thicker. With every layer, the light to come became softer, warmer, steadier. Master Aliort didn't work during the day. He always waited until nightfall. Some said it was because the cool mountain air made the tallow set just right. Others whispered that it was the quiet he loved most. That long stretch of silence between moonrise and cockcrow. But if you asked him, he would only smile. A soft, knowing smile that flickered like the flames he molded with his hands. Tonight the air is crisp and still. The sky above is ink blue, dotted with starlight. Their light dances gently along the stone walls, casting soft shadows that stretch and sway. The wind is gentle, brushing the grass in soft sighs. Inside his cottage, Aliort stirs a basin of tallow with a long wooden paddle. The scent fills the room earthy and sweet. Above him, bundles of dried herbs hang from beams. Lavender, rosemary, and a pinch of something bittersweet. For dreams, perhaps. His hands, though weathered, move with care, dipping the cotton wicks into the wax, one by one. Each time, the wax cools slightly on the strand. Each time, it grows. Is a rune, layer by layer, dip by dip. The room glows golden from a few already finished candles placed in old tin holders. And then, just as the old brass clock hums the hour of midnight, Aliort does something he never does in daylight. He reaches for a drawer beneath his bench, slowly, and pulls from it a small iron stamp. It's no larger than a coin, and upon its face, carved into the cold metal, not Latin, not Germanic. Older, he presses the warm, nearly finished candle gently with the stamp, and the wax takes the mark in silence. If you looked close, closer than most ever do, you'd see the mark glimmer softly for a moment. They weren't magical in the way of fairy tales, almost as if it remembers something, and then it fades. You might wonder why a rune. Why hide such a mark in a simple candle? Well, that part of the story goes back even further. Back to a time when villagers believed a candle could do more than light a room. It could guide a spirit, or protect a child from nightmares. In the year 1332, monks wrote about candles that were anointed for birth rooms, or to guard the dying. Some believed that if a candle was blessed on Candlemas, and burned slowly on a stormy night, no evil could enter the home. A liard's runes, but they carried something nonetheless. An old wish, perhaps, or a memory. He never told anyone what the runes meant, but when asked, he would pause, and then say, "Each one holds a little light from before." Whatever that meant, no one knew. But those who bought his candles said they burned longer and softer than any others, and some swore that, just before they fell asleep, the flame would flicker in a rhythm that felt like breathing. Tonight, as a liard dips the final wick, the cottage is hushed. Only the soft bubbling of wax, the occasional rustle from the breeze outside. He places the fresh candles in a wooden rack by the window, where the cool air can settle them. And then, from a shelf, he takes a candle of his own. This one is slightly different. Its wax is pale gold, almost translucent. He lights it with a breath. The flame rises, tall and slow. Its glow fills the room like music. He sets it beside his chair and lowers himself into it with a contented sigh. The chair creaks, just a little, like it's exhaling too. And in this quiet, a liard closes his eyes. The flame beside a liard dances slowly, as though aware of the silence it must keep. Outside, the night breathes softly long, slow exhales through pine branches and across the thatched roofs of the sleeping village. Far above, the moon has tilted slightly, spilling pale silver over the valley below, touching rooftops and treetops alike with a gentle, sacred glow. Inside the candlemaker's cottage, time stretches and stills. There is no rush here, no ticking clocks beyond the muffled thump of a brass pendulum. The fire in the hearth glows low, a quiet amber heartbeat against the stones. A liar doesn't sleep yet. He never sleeps immediately after making candles. One no one else knows. It is a tradition of his. Instead, the candle he lit, the special one, is burning steadily. Its flame sways only when the breeze from the cracked window whispers in, and just beneath the glow, faint enough to miss if you blinked, is the rune he pressed. It shimmers, not with light, but with memory, as though some distant part of the world is humming through it. You see, a layard learned this craft long ago. Not just the dipping of wicks or the blending of herbs, but the deeper part, the part that isn't written in books, the part passed from one to another only by candlelight and whispers. When he was a boy, he lived in a monastery deep in the north. The monks there were gentle and kind. They taught him to read, and to watch, and to listen to silence. It was in the candle room where they poured wax and chanted softly that he saw his first rune. "We must always leave a door for light to return." Brother Tovin, an old man with cloud-white hair and fingers stained with ash, pressed the mark into each candle. And when Eliad asked why, The monk only smiled and said he never forgot that. Now, years later, Alliard has made thousands of candles, each one holding its own rune, each one sent out into the world like a message in a bottle, glowing faintly, whispering softly. He closes his eyes for a moment, resting in the flickering warmth, as though something soft has arrived. And just as his breathing slows, the wind changes. Not sharply, not enough to chill, but gently. Her eyes are steady, quiet. Outside, on the worn path, leading to his cottage. Perhaps 9, perhaps 10. Her cloak is too big, sleeves bunched around her wrists, hem dragging in the dirt. But her eyes, she holds something wrapped in cloth. She hesitates at the door, then lifts the iron knocker once, gently. Tap tap. Alliard's eyes open, not startled, not worried, only curious. He stands, joints creaking like old floorboards, and walks to the door. When it opens, the soft night air drifts in like a lullaby. The girl looks up at him. Inside is a stub of a candle, barely more than a nub, cracked and burned to its last breath. "I need a candle," she says. Her voice is almost a whisper, as if afraid to wake the shadows. "Not just any candle," she adds. "One like the ones that breathe. In my mother's things. She used it when the storms came, and she said it," hummed Alliard. Does not ask how she knows. He only nods, once, slowly. She unwraps the cloth bundle, but even now, its wax holds the faint imprint of a rune. Only. Hopeful. Yes, it's one of his, from years ago. Perhaps 10, perhaps more. "I found it," she says. Alliard reaches out, takes the candle gently, as one might cradle a baby bird. He studies it under the warm light. He looks back at the girl. Her eyes are not afraid. He turns and gestures for her to follow. Inside, the room welcomes her with warmth. The scent of wax and herbs fills her nose. Lavender, thyme, a hint of mint. It's the smell of peace and safety. She stands quietly as Alliard selects a fresh wick and dips it once. Twice, the wax coats it smoothly, layer upon layer. As he works, he speaks softly, so softly that even the flame seems to lean in. "There was a time," he says, "when candles were more than light. They were memory. When someone you loved passed on, you lit a candle, and as it burned, their name was spoken into the silence. Sometimes, if the wax was pure and the flame honest, you might feel them, just for a breath." The girl listens, her small hands wrapped tightly in her sleeves. Alliard dips the candle again, letting it cool, then dipping once more. Outside, the mist presses gently against the windows, like a sleepy cat settling in. At last, the candle is ready. Pale golden wax, smooth and quiet. He presses the rune. This time, a different one. He holds it up to the girl. "This one," he whispers, "is for memory that stays even after it fades, like scent on a shawl, or a dream you have remembered." The girl reaches out and takes the candle. Her fingers are trembling now. Just slightly. She nods, once, and whispers, "Thank you." Alliard walks her back to the door. The mist parts for her, like an old friend, and the path glows faintly beneath her feet. He watches until she disappears into the hush of night. Then, slowly, he returns to his chair, He sits, and beside him, the special candle still glows, still breathing, still remembering. The warmth in the room has grown heavier in the most comforting way, like a favorite blanket pulled up just beneath the chin. The weight of it grounding you, but never pressing. Eliud sits once more in his chair, the fire in the hearth murmuring low, like it too remembers the girl and her quiet voice. The candle beside him, that golden one, flickers faintly, not from wind, but from something older, something deeper. There is a truth that the candlemaker never speaks aloud, but holds quietly in his chest. Each candle he makes, each rune is meant for someone. He doesn't always know who. Sometimes they find their way to far-off place, says a scholar's study in a castle tower, or the small bedside table of a woman giving birth in a stormlit cottage. But they always find the right hands. Eliud leans forward, the light catching the silver in his beard. He opens a worn leather journal. Beside the hearth a book, filled not with words, but with symbols. Each page holds a rune, and beneath it a small note, not an explanation. No, just a feeling. One says, for grief soft by time. Another reads, for warmth when you miss someone's laugh. And one simply whispers, for goodbyes not said in time. Almost faded by years, he runs his fingertips gently over that last page. The paper is soft from age, and from touch. You see, Eliud once lost someone, long ago. A sister, bright as morning. She loved birdsong and apple blossom, and would hum as she combed her hair. When she fell ill, there were no candles left, not even a stub. The fire had gone out, and the room was too dark for goodbye. That's when he began making them. Every candle since then, every light he poured, was his answer to that long-o night. He closes the journal slowly, sets it down with reverence. Outside, the wind curls around the house, not to chill, but to listen. Suddenly, something shifts, not on the door this time, but the window. The owl steps forward onto the sill with care, places the scroll in his hand, and waits. Tap, tap, tap. Eliud rises without worry. He knows that sound. His eyes soften. A birth, he murmurs aloud, in the hills beyond St. Foran's path. There, just outside the mist-glazed pane, sits a barn owl. Its feathers are white as snow, left too long in shadow. Its eyes, golden and still, blink only once. They stare at each other for a breath, and then the owl lifts its foot tied gently too. It is a scroll, a message. Eliud opens the window slowly. He reads it silently. He nods to the owl, who tilts its head, as if in agreement, then flutters off with a whisper of wings. Another candle is needed. He turns to his supplies. The bowl of tallow is still warm. It slows, thickens almost. The herbs hanging just above seem to reach down to him like threads in a dream. Tonight, for this one, he chooses chamomile. Not too much, just enough to scent the wax with softness. He adds crushed lemon balm leaves, 2 herb monks, once used to calm nerves and lift the spirit. A single petal from a rose. He dried the year his garden first bloomed. As the wax melts and the wick is readied, it's a quiet tune, one that no one but him remembers. And as he hums, the air in the room changes. He wraps the candle carefully in linen, ties it with thread, the color of dusk, as if time itself is pausing to watch. He dips the wick once, twice, The layers build. The candle grows taller, more sure of itself. Still flickers in time with the quiet night. He closes his eyes, lets the heat of the fire touch his skin. When it's just the right size, he removes it and lets it cool. They always do. Iliad returns to his chair once more. Then, from the same hidden drawer, he retrieves a different rune. Or perhaps a traveler will pass through. But the candle, the light within, and now, this one looks like a spiral nestled inside a teardrop. A rare one, used only for beginnings. He presses it gently into the soft wax. It glows, only for a moment, but in that moment, the entire cottage feels warmer, and places it in a small wooden box beside the hearth. Tomorrow, someone will come. Perhaps the owl will return, will find its way. The special candle beside him still burns, and remembers the time he delivered a candle to a house where silence had lingered too long. The mother had lit it, and, for the first time in months, her child had dreamed, not of ghosts, but of summer. He remembers the time he gave a candle to a widow, with hands that shook. She burned it beside a photo, and the trembling stopped before morning. Each memory glows softly in his mind, not brightly, not sharply, but warmly, like distant music through an open door. As the hours deepen, and the mist outside thickens into a velvet hush, Iliad finally leans his head back, lets it rest against the old wood, lets his breathing slow, match the quiet rhythm of the flame beside him. The candle is still watching, still glowing, still whispering, "You are not alone." The cottage rests like a cradle carved into the edge of the mountain, and the night gentle, as breath on skin folds over it, layer upon layer. No sounds intrude, only the occasional pop from the hearth, and the soothing crackle of cooling wax. Each note like a lullaby from the old world. Iliad's breathing has grown slow and deep. In the glow of the special candle beside him, his hands lie still in his lap, palm up as if they too are resting. He hears it, a flutter, then a knock. But just as sleep threatens to gather him completely, but not at the window, not at the door. It comes from beneath the floorboards. He does not flinch, he only smiles. The trapdoor, hidden beneath a wool rug worn by time, lifts without a sound, and his eyes show concrete flecks of starlight, as if he sees more than just what's in front of him. From the shadows below rises a man tall, cloaked in bar-colored robes, with a soft green sash tied at the waist. His beard is long, streaked with moss gray. "Brother Lys," he says, with a warm hush. "I wondered when you'd come again." The man nods. "The solstice draws near," he replies, "and we are nearly out of dream." Without words, the two men begin their ancient dance. Iliad gestures toward the bench. Dreamfire is a rare candle one that flickers with more than heat. It was first whispered of in old abbey ledgers and the journals of traveling healers, simply because the stars seemed too quiet. Tonight's Dreamfire batch is small. They claimed it could keep nightmares away from the beds of children and light a path through grief for the newly alone. Its secret lies in the oil of moonseed berries and ash from burnt-yew bark. But more than ingredients, it requires memory. Memory that's been soft by time. Not sharp, not raw, just quiet. Iliad prepares the tallow in silence. Brother Lys grinds the yew bark with a mortar whose bowl is carved from antler. Like morning mist, neither speaks. And yet, the room fills with understanding. They have done this before. Many times. Once, after a great flood. But before he descends again into the floor, he pauses, Once, when war had left too many beds empty. And once, just 6 candles, each poured with care, each set beside the hearth to cool. When the 6th is set down, Brother Lys reaches into his robe, and the candle beside the chair pulses once bright, then calm again. It pours gently between the trees, like spilled milk in moonlight. He pulls out a small pouch, woven from river reeds. Inside are 6 small runes, carved not in metal, but in bone. He places one atop each candle, pressing gently with reverence. They shimmer briefly, then still. "Take them tomorrow," Alliard says, his voice barely more than wind. Alliard walks to the window. He sees the lights in the village dimming, one by one. There's fog coming. You'll have time to pass unnoticed. Brother Lys nods, tucking the pouch now filled with light into his robe. Outside, the mountain wind begins to sing. Not with force. "The boy from the cliff path," he says quietly, dreamed again. "Not of fire, but of the sea. You should know." Alliard closes his eyes, breathes in. That is enough. And then the man is gone, swallowed into the soft dark beneath the floor. The rug is smoothed back over the trapdoor. The fire sighs. Not the man. Not even time. Everything just is. Outside, the fog has begun to roll in from the high ridges, from something else, something old. A memory stirs in Alliard's chest. It hushes everything it touches. Even the owls grow still, like a page slowly being turned over. He remembers the people behind each shuttered window. The baker with his soot-kissed cheeks, who buys 2 candles each week, even when he doesn't need them. The widow at the far end of the lane, whose cat knocks hers over every time she plays the lute. The twins who collect candle stubs and melt them into colorful piles just to see what shade the fire becomes. Each one has held a piece of his light, and in some quiet way, each has given him something back. You are never truly alone in the dark. Not to frighten, but with a note as soft as breath on glass. It winds through the branches, brushes the shutters, licks the rooftop like an old friend checking in. Alliard opens the window a crack, lets the air pass through, lets the smoke curl upward. He takes in the scent of pine, the cooling wax, the embers, and for a moment, nothing moves, not the wind. Then, behind him, a single flame flickers tall. The candle, it glows brighter, suddenly, but not from wax, not from heat, not sharp, not painful. A field of wildflowers, a woman's laugh familiar and soft, the warmth of her hand in his. He smiles. It's not sadness, not joy, something in between. The way twilight sits between day and night, belonging to neither, and yet to both. He returns to his chair. The candle welcomes him back, its flame still steady, still warm, still breathing, and somewhere deep within the quiet glow, a rune hums gently, a rune shaped like a spiral nestled in a star. It speaks no words, it needs none, but if it could, it would say, "You are held, you are remembered." The first hint of dawn peaks quietly behind the mountains now, not yet gold, but a gentle grayish blue, the color of smoke trailing across morning snow. And yet inside Alliard's cottage, it still feels like midnight. The candlelight stretches long across the stone floor, undisturbed. Each flicker presses softly against the walls, as if refusing to let go of the night just yet. The old candlemaker does not stir. His breath rises and falls in perfect rhythm, not deep in sleep, but rather in that soft middle place between dream and waking, where thoughts float like ash, and the world around you seems made of memory and mist. In that quiet space, a liar dreams, but his dreams are not like most. His are made of color and scent, of wax and ash, and rain tapping on shutters. He walks through the village, in this dream not in the present, but long ago. The rooftops are lower, the trees taller. The people wear heavier cloaks and carry lanterns when they go out at dusk. He sees the baker as a boy, chasing his dog through the orchard. He sees the midwife when she still braided her hair in loops, hands young and sure. He sees himself, smaller, faster, and laughing. Always, in these dreams, the candles glow brighter. They line windows and hang from iron hooks on beams. They rest in sconces shaped like stars and seashells and curled leaves. And within each flame is a face, not clear, not frightening, just familiar. They are the ones who lit the candle, or the ones it was lit for. He walks among them, this glowing village, and feels no need to speak. Everything that needs saying is already in the light. Back in his chair, the morning air has crept through the cracks of the shutters, cool but kind. It brushes against a liard's cheek, like a page turning in a book. He stirs. One eye opens, then the other. He blinks slowly, like a cat waking in the sun. The candle beside him is now shorter, its base softened with melted wax that glistens around the holder. Still burning, still breathing, he stretches vertebrae, popping gently like bubbles, rising through honey. He smiles. Today will be a good day. He rises, takes the half-burned candle, and carries it to the back of the room. There, hidden behind a faded tapestry, is a narrow set of stairs. He climbs them carefully, hand on the rail worn smooth by years. Each step creaks, not with complaint, but with memory. At the top is a small attic, not dusty, not forgotten. It's where he keeps the ones that were never claimed. Some were meant for children who never arrived, some for letters never sent. The watchers, he calls them, candles made for someone, but never taken. Some for hearts that decided not to open. He places the candle among them, on a shelf lined with velvet. Each one rests in a tiny wooden cradle, wick trimmed, wax unbroken. He lights none of them. They are not ready. But when the time is right, one will flicker on its own, and then he'll know it must be delivered. He looks over them all with gentle eyes. There are over 100 now, some newer, others old enough to have grown dust if he allowed it. But he does not. He cleans each one weekly, humming as he does, and from the lane below, a rooster crows, not sharply, more like a yawn. As he descends the stairs once more, the light through the window has grown warmer. The fog outside now glows, pale peach, soft and full. A liard moves to the front of the cottage and opens the door wide. The cool air rushes in, brushing his robe, curling into the corners of the room. Outside, the village begins to stir. Shutters creak open. Pails clink at the well. A cartwheel groans as it rolls over damp earth. He steps onto the stone stoop, watching it all. The world waking. He reaches into the basket nearest Dortha, one that holds finished candles ready for delivery. He selects 3. One for the healer, one for the boy with night, and one for the stranger who arrived yesterday. soaked by rain and too polite to ask for light. As he wraps them in linen and ties each with string, he hums softly. No one knows the words anymore, but the melody still holds. The tune is old, something from the northern coast. A neighbor passes by, an older man with a cane and a straw hat too big for his head. He waves. Eliard nods back. Neither speaks. The man once used one of Eliard's candles during a fever. He later said he dreamed of fields, even though snow covered the land that night. Now he walks each morning. Slowly, gratefully, Eliard places the wrapped candles in a sack and steps onto the path. The stones beneath his feet, each one glistens like glass. He walks slowly, the bag swinging gently at his side. As he passes each home, he tucks a candle at the door or into a crook of stone by the step. And above it all, the sky opens wide, soft blue, soft gold. A new page. No knock, no note. They'll know. He always delivers before the sun fully rises. It's his way of letting the light arrive before the day begins. By the time he reaches the village square, the mist is lifting. Children laugh. Goats bleat. A bell rings from the chapel, calling the hour. The door still open, the fire still warm, and above it all, Eliard turns, retracing his steps slowly back toward his cottage. He passes the hawthorn tree, now heavy with blossoms, passes the stone bench where lovers carved initials long ago, and finally, he rounds the curve where his red-roofed home peeks from the trees. A candle still burning in the window, watching, waiting, whispering. The little remnant candle by the window flickers with a soft rhythm, pulsing gently as if exhaling with the cottage itself. Its flame leans slightly toward the sky, where the first true stars of the night now glisten like frost scattered over velvet. Orion slumbers behind the hills. The Pleiades hum quietly to themselves. Everything in the world seems wrapped in a stillness. Only the old night remembers. It breathes in the faintest flicker of the candle's flame. The old candlemaker sleeps deeply, without stir or sound. His face is peaceful, unlined by tension. Inside Eliard's home, the stillness is a living thing. It hums in the space between heartbeat and breath. The small rune pouch rests beside him on the pillow, its warmth matching his own. And outside, at the edge of the lane, something stirs. A traveler, wrapped in a heavy cloak, lantern unlit. They pause at the gate, resting one hand on the wood, and exhale. They move slowly, not with weariness, but with intention. Their steps make no sound against the path. Their eyes are drawn to the light in Eliard's window. The candle, the only flame still burning in the village. Soft, steady, inviting. It is not quite a sigh, like someone who has finally arrived. They don't knock. They don't need to. Instead, they reach into their satchel and draw out a small bundle, wrapped in wool, tied with ribbon, the color of old parchment. They place it carefully on the doorstep, beneath a sprig of wild thyme tucked into the stone. Then, they vanish into the fog once more, leaving no sound, no trail. Only a warmth in the air, like the final note of a lullaby. Inside, dawn begins to press softly against the horizon, not yet visible, but felt. The birds do not sing, not yet. They, too, are waiting. Eliard stirs beneath his blanket. eyes still closed, but breath changing. The kind of breath that rises when dreams are nearing their end. He shifts slightly, one hand moving to the rune pouch at his side. Fingers rest upon the thread. Then a slow inhale and a gentle awakening. He does not startle. He never does. He wakes as he his eyes blink open, soft and still, shaded with sleep. He lays there for a moment, watching the shadow of the beam above him, then sits up. The room holds the same hush it had all night. He steps from the bed and moves toward the front of the house, bare feet on cool stone. The boards do not creak for him. They know his steps. As he passes the window, the candle greets him, still burning, still waiting. Its flame is shortened, its pool of wax now wide, but it holds steady just enough to guide the way. Alliard folds the paper and places it beside his journal. Then he lifts the candle stub in his hands. Alliard opens the door. The air is cold, tinged with dew, but soft, welcoming. He looks down. The bundle, untouched. He bends, picks it up gently, brushes the time sprig with a fingertip. Back inside, he sets it on the table and unwraps the wool slowly. Inside is a candle stub, one of his old, charred at one edge, faintly marked with a rune, worn smooth by time. He smiles, a low breath escaping his lips, recognition without surprise. There's a note, no name, only words, carefully penned in a trembling hand. It helped me find my way. I hope this one will find someone else. It is warm from where it was held. Even unlit, it feels alive. He carries it to the bench and places it beside a new wick. A candle ready to be born. A circle inside an open path. It means to guide and to be guided. The wax melts slowly, filling the room once again with that rich, familiar scent: lavender, beeswax, a hint of rosemary. He stirs it slowly, thinking of the traveler, their steps, their silence, their gift. He walks to it, cupping the holder with both hands, and gently breathes out. When the wax is ready, he dips the wick, then again, and again. Each dip is an offering, each layer a prayer without words. The candle grows, and when it is tall enough, cool enough, real enough, he presses a rune into its base. He wraps it in soft linen, ties it with sage thread, then sets it beside the door. It will wait for the one who needs it. Not today, perhaps not tomorrow, but the light will know. He turns back to the old candle still burning in the window. Its flame flickers just once, then begins to draw inward. Its time is done. The light vanishes without struggle. The wick smolders quietly, curling into darkness. He sets the holder aside and looks once more at the stars. They blink slowly, steady, as if winking to him across the ages. Behind him, the other candle, the one, pressed with longing tempered bibe, still burns. Lower now, but steady. As he lowers himself into the seat, he wraps a wool shawl over his lap, not for cold, but for comfort. And finally, he lets his eyes close, just for a little while. The flame watches him, the room breathes, and the light remains. The warmth in the room has grown heavier in the most comforting way, like a favorite blanket pulled up just beneath the chin. The weight of it grounding you, but never pressing. Alliard sits once more in his chair, the fire in the hearth murmuring low, like it too remembers the girl and her quiet voice. The candle beside him, that golden one, flickers faintly, not from wind, but from something older, something deeper. There is a truth that the candlemaker never speaks aloud, but holds quietly in his chest. Each candle he makes, each rune is meant for someone. He doesn't always know who. Sometimes they find their way to far-off place, says a scholar's study in a castle tower, or the small bedside table of a woman giving birth in a storm-lit cottage. But they always find the right hands. Alliard leans forward, the light catching the silver in his beard. He opens a worn leather journal. Beside the hearth a book, filled not with words, but with symbols. Each page holds a rune, and beneath it a small note. Not an explanation, no, just a feeling. One says, for grief softened by time. Another reads, for warmth when you miss someone's laugh. And one, almost faded by years, simply whispers, for goodbyes not said in time. He runs his fingertips gently over that last page. The paper is soft from age. Alliard once lost someone, long ago, and from touch, you see. She'd loved birdsong and apple blossom, and would hum as she combed her hair. A sister, bright as morning. That's when he began making them. Every candle since then. When she fell ill, there were no candles left, not even a stub. The fire had gone out, and the room was too dark for goodbye. Every light he poured was his answer to that long ago night. He closes the journal slowly, sets it down with reverence. Outside, the wind curls around the house, not to chill, but to listen. The owl steps forward onto the sill with care, places the scroll in his hand, and waits. A Berthy murmurs aloud in the hills beyond St. Veron's path. Suddenly, something shifts. A soft knock. Not on the door this time, but the window. Tap, tap, tap. Alliard rises, without worry. He knows that sound. There, just outside the mist-glazed pane, sits a barn owl. Its feathers are white as snow, left too long in shadow. Its eyes, golden and still, blink only once. They stare at each other for a breath, and then the owl lifts its foot tied gently to it. Is a scroll, a message. Alliard opens the window slowly. He reads it silently. His eyes soften. He nods to the owl, who tilts its head, as if in agreement, then flutters off with a whisper of wings. The air in the room changes. It slows, thickens, almost. Another candle is needed. He turns to his supplies. The bowl of tallow is still warm. The herbs hanging just above seem to reach down to him like threads in a dream. Tonight, for this one, he chooses chamomile. Not too much, just enough to scent the wax with softness. He adds crushed lemon balm leaves. 2 herb monks, once used to calm nerves and lift the spirit. And finally, a single petal from a rose. He dried the year. His garden first bloomed. As the wax melts and the wick is readied, one that no one but him remembers. And as he hums, as if time itself is pausing to watch, he dips the wick. Once, twice, the layers build. The candle grows taller, more sure of itself. When it's just the right size, he removes it and lets it cool. Still flickers in time with the quiet night. He closes his eyes, lets the heat of the fire touch his skin. Then, from the same hidden drawer, he retrieves a different rune. This one looks like a spiral nestled inside a teardrop. A rare one, used only for beginnings. He presses it gently into the soft wax. It glows, only for a moment. But in that moment, the entire cottage feels warmer. He wraps the candle carefully in linen, ties it with thread the color of dusk, and places it in a small wooden box beside the hearth. Tomorrow, someone will come. Perhaps the owl will return, or perhaps a traveler will pass through. But the candle, the light within, will find its way. They always do. Alliard returns to his chair once more. The special candle beside him still burns, and remembers the time he delivered a candle to a house where silence had lingered too long. The mother had lit it, and, for the first time in months, her child had dreamed, not of ghosts, but of summer. He remembers the time he gave a candle to a widow, with hands that shook. She burned it beside a photo, and the trembling stopped before morning. Each memory glows softly in his mind, not brightly, not sharply, but warmly, like distant music through an open door. And now, as the hours deepen, and the mist outside thickens into a velvet hush, Alliard finally leans his head back, lets it rest against the old wood, lets his breathing slow, match the quiet rhythm of the flame beside him. The candle is still watching, still glowing, still whispering, "You are not alone." The newly crafted candle rests now on the sill, catching the first true light of day. Its wax shines with a soft, buttery sheen, neither bright nor dull, but something in between, like the soft light of memories not yet forgotten. Alliard stands beside it for a long moment, letting the warmth of the sun and the lingering scent of the tea mix into the stillness of the morning. He doesn't need to rush. Candle making is never hurried. It is slow by design. Each step asks for attention, for quiet intention, and Alliard honors that. For breath, he returns to the workbench and lights a small corner candle, the one used for thinking. It's not marked with a rune, not made for anyone else. It's his. Its wick burns quickly, and the flame leans left, as though whispering secrets to the wall. He sits, pulls open a drawer, takes out a small cloth pouch filled with wax shavings and herb dust. From inside it, he lifts an old piece of parchment, folded neatly into thirds. Its corners are curled, and the ink faded, but still legible, still alive. It's a letter from someone named. She once lived in the eastern lowlands, where fields stretch out like golden cloth, and the wind moves without ever stopping. She had written to thank him for a candle he never delivered personally. It had arrived, wrapped in lavendered wool, packed inside a tin of dried pears. She wrote that the candle had given her husband rest after many long weeks of waking in fear. "I lit it each night," the letter said, and watched as his breath slowed. The flame never wavered, not once, even in the drafts. Alliard folds the letter again, presses it to his chest. He's never met Mayrin, but her words stayed with him, stitched into the quiet corners of his memory. He places the parchment back in the pouch, where an old wooden chest rests beneath a shelf of bundles and jars. These are tall, a festival nearly forgotten beyond this valley. But here, then looks around the room. Not with a to-do list, not with plans, but with stillness. Everything is where it should be, and still, everything is ready to change. He walks slowly to the back wall. He lifts the lid gently, revealing a collection of candle molds unlike the others, and thin. Some spiraled, some ridged. They are ceremonial molds used only once a year, for still whispered about by the elders, still honored quietly by the few who remember. Candle moon is said to fall on the 13th night after the first spring bloom, a night when light must be earned not from matchas, or flint butt from story. Villagers gather, each brings a tale, and for each story told, a candle is lit. Or return. He chooses 3 molds in total. That will be enough for now. The stories don't have to be happy, only true. And in return, the light is kept for the year ahead, stored in wax and memory, ready to warm the darker months. A Liard lifts 1 mold from the chest. It's shaped like a column of ivy, a thread of cedar resin, melted gently in the base. He turns it in his hand, inspecting its edges. Still clean, still whole. He sets it aside and selects a second, this one, shaped like a braid, twisting gently around a hollow center, perfect for a story of love. Waits. No pressing, no marking, not yet. These candles are not for individuals. They are for the village. Back at the bench, he begins warming the wax again. This time, he adds something special. Then a pinch of crushed petals from a winter rose that bloomed too late last year. Their scent is softly rich, earthy, bittersweet. He closes his eyes. Hears footsteps, long past, not from weather, from memory. He glances at it. Laughter from someone who no longer walks this path. He pours the wax slowly, watches it fill the molds like golden syrup. Just past the orchard, on the window ledge of a small stone house, someone nearby has lit a rune-marked candle, and the flame is calling home. He walks to the window and peers out, for the story's waiting to be told. When the wax is set, he removes each one and places them gently in a wooden box, lined with velvet. Each rests like a quiet breath. He'll bring them to the square next week, leave them near the old fountain, beneath the hawthorn tree, before dusk. No sign, no price, just a note for those who speak truth into the dark. As he seals the box, the cottage fills with a different kind of stillness, a pause, a held breath, and then softly his wind chime stirs. Not the one on the front porch, but the one inside, above the table. It only ever moves when the air shifts from within. 5 small brass chimes, hanging from an oak ring, spinning just enough to sing. He knows what it means. From this high point, he can see the village below, and there, a glow, faint but rhythmic, alive. The flame pulses softly once, pause, then again. It's the mark of the reunion rune, the one pressed into candles meant for those preparing to meet someone they haven't seen in a very long time. He watches it flicker, and for a moment, the wind stills entirely. Even the birds fall quiet, and in the hush, he swears he can feel it. 2 people, once distant, now near, a reunion about to begin. The flame holds that moment, and so does he. The candlelight across the window ledge remains steady, but not still. It dances with Meninga language, spoken not in sound, but in light. Soft pulses of flame that carry more weight than words ever could. A Liard watches from his own window, a quiet witness to something tender. He cannot see who the candle was for. He doesn't need to. The reunion rune always finds its way to the right hands. Whether it marks a return after distance, or forgiveness after silence, the flame knows, and as he turns away from the window, he carries that warmth inside him, like a pocket of sunlight tucked beneath his ribs. The wind chime above the table stills. The moment has passed, but the feeling lingers. He walks to his chair once more and eases down into it, not with weariness, but with reverence. He takes up his journal again, the one with pressed runes and quiet notations. The light held steady, He opens to a fresh page and writes slowly. The reunion was witnessed. Then he closes the journal, sets it aside, and looks to the candle by his side. The hearts were not alone. Its flame is lower now, barely half its height from earlier. But still, it breathes. Still, it remembers. And Ellard begins to speak. Not aloud, not for anyone else, but to the flame. You see, in his craft, there is one final practice known only to candle keepers. They speak to their oldest flame, a ritual of reflection, of release. He speaks softly, as though sharing secrets with the wind. I remember the boy who would not sleep unless the flame flickered like his mother's lullaby, he murmurs. I remember the woman who lit her candle every new moon, then buried its stub in the earth with her prayers. I remember the traveler who left his light in the chapel, because he said he no longer needed it once he forgave himself. Each memory is a breath, and the candle listens, as if gathering each story into its wick, holding them gently, never judging, only warming. The room dims further now as clouds drift across the sun. The light outside turns pale, subdued, and inside the cottage, the shadows stretch like soft cloth being pulled across the floor. Ellard rises one final time. He moves to a small wooden box by the hearth, cradles it with both hands. This is the keeper's light. Within it, bundled in blue silk, rests a single candle unlike any other. It has never been lit. It bears no rune. It is not for others. It is not to mark grief or celebration or return. Its wax is clear, not white, not yellow, but translucent, like frozen honey in winter. He lifts it gently. Every candlemaker, before they lay down the craft, lights one. It is for closure, for release, for rest. Ellard turns it in his hands, feels the cool wax beneath his fingertips. He is not ready to light it, not today, but he holds it just the same, because soon, perhaps next spring, he will pass on his tools. Someone new will come, without the soft knock of those in need, only rest. Someone who feels the wax, not just as substance, but as story. Someone who listens when candles speak, and when that day comes, Ellard will light the keeper's flame, let it burn through a single night, and then he will sleep, deeply, without duty, without the call of the chimes. He returns the candle to its silk, to the box, and slides it gently beneath the bench. For now, there is still light to give. He steps outside. The sky has cleared again, pale blue brushed with threads of white, perhaps ridden by a child. He walks toward the path that winds into the woods behind the village, but from the weight of something good, he tucks it into his robe pocket. Few use it anymore, but he knows each stone, each root, each tree that leans inward like an old friend listening. Along the path, small niches in the trees remain from years long past. They do not frighten. They follow gently behind him, like smoke trails. Hallows where he once left candles for those who could not speak their sorrow aloud. He checks each one, replaces those that have burned away, adds fresh wax where the glass jars have emptied, and at the third tree he finds something new. A folded piece of parchment, set gently beside the stub of a burnt-down candle. He opens it with care. The handwriting is uneven, or someone who no longer writes often. The note says only, "Thank you." I dreamed of him again. We were laughing. Ellard folds the note with trembling fingers. Not from cold, not from age, and whispers, "You're welcome." He he places a new candle in the tree hollow. This one pressed with the rune for joyful memory. Its flame will be lit later by someone in need of laughter again. As he walks back toward the village, the shadows shift beneath the trees, soft and swirling, or ghosts made of kindness. By the time he returns home, the sky has begun its descent once more. The light has changed warmer, angled. The gold of early evening beginning to thread its way through the branches. He prepares for another night, warming the wax, trimming the wicks, sifting herbs through his fingers like sand. And behind him, at the window, a fresh candle waits, its rune pressed, its wick still white, ready to glow, ready to speak. The flame on the table beside a lyre glows with quiet certainty. It dances slowly gnawed, in excitement but with patience, as though it knows it has all the time in the world to burn. And perhaps it does. Outside, the last blue of day gives way to the soft velvet of night. No more birdsong now, only the hush. The village rests again, shutters drawn, cups emptied, candles flickering behind lace curtains or guttering low in clay sconces. But Aliard's home glows steadily. His 4 corner candles burn quietly, like watchful friends. The belonging candle on the table before him is stronger, deeper its flame, tall and straight. It's like golden as baked bread. He sips from a warm cup of cider, the spiced scent curling around him like wool. His hands, though aged, wrap around the mug, easily, remembering its shape. Just full. A good day. Tonight feels full. Not dramatic, not grand. Light returned. He sets the mug down and reaches for a small wooden box on a shelf nearby. It's carved from pine, its lid smooth from years of touch. Inside, trimmings, bits of wick, shavings of wax, a small lock of hair, a faded ribbon, and one tiny candle, never lit. Its wick blackened, though it has never known flame. It is pressed with no rune, only a faint fingerprint across the base. He takes it in his palm and holds it. This candle was his first, made before he understood how to shape intention, before he knew about memory and wax, before he understood that flame remembers. He made it when he was barely a boy. Shaky hands, spilled wax, no herbs, just instinct. He holds it now, and it hums in his hand, not with sound, but with presence. He sets it down beside the belonging candle, and the 2 flames, one real, one waiting, seem to speak. Aliard leans back and closes his eyes. His body knows rest, knows how to fall into it like a leaf settling on water. He thinks of the traveler who left the gift. He thinks of the widow and the boy, and the girl with the reunion flame. He thinks of his teacher, long past, and of the candles that were never claimed. Each one, each moment, a thread. Together they've formed a tapestry woven in wax and warmth. He thinks of how many homes now glow because of him, how many hands have warmed by his craft, how many dreams have passed beneath the flicker of flame. His chest fills, not with pride, with quiet joy, joy that does not shout or shine too bright, joy that lingers like a candle stub kept in a drawer because it still smells faintly of lavender. That kind of joy. He opens his eyes once more. The flame still burns, still speaks, and in its light, he sees himself not as he is now, but as he was, and as he will be. A keeper of light, a whisperer of warmth, a friend to the quiet hours. The house is quiet now, more quiet than before, because now it holds not just silence, He takes the tiny candle, the first, the unlit one, and presses it to the warmth of the belonging candle's flame. He rises, slow and steady, and extinguishes each of the corner candles in turn. Just for a moment. It doesn't ignite, not fully. But the wick smokes, lays one hand over the rune pouch, still beside his pillow, and closes his eyes. The candle watches him, and then glows faintly red, like a heartbeat beneath skin, then fades. Candlelight smiles. That was enough. He places it back in the box, closes the lid, and lets out a breath he didn't realize he'd been holding. That peace. The one by the door, the one beside the window, the one by the bed, the one in the kitchen nook, each one released with a soft breath, a promise fulfilled. Only the belonging candle remains. He carries it to his bedside table, sets it down gently, lets it cast its final light across the room. Now, sleep. Then he settles into bed, pulls the quilt up. Its flame lowers, just a little, as if tucking itself in, too. Outside, the moon glides into the sky slow and silver. Stars blink, the trees lean in, and the last candle in the window flickers one final time. Not as a goodbye, but as a lullaby, a soft, steady rhythm to match the breath of the sleeping candlekeeper. And though the story may fade now into night, its light remains. Somewhere, in some village, tucked between the arms of a mountain, a warm candle still burns, watching, remembering, guiding, waiting for you. If ever you need it, just follow the light and sleep softly. The village sleeps beneath a soft quilt of starlight and silence. No footsteps echo on the cobbled paths. No shutters creak. Even the wind seems to pause, leaning quietly against the walls of cottages, content to simply listen. Inside Alliard's home, the stillness is a living thing. It breathes in the faintest flicker of the candle's flame. It hums in the space between heartbeat and breath. The old candlemaker sleeps deeply, without stir or sound. His face is peaceful, unlined by tension. The small rune pouch rests beside him on the pillow, its warmth matching his own. And outside, at the edge of the lane, something stirs. Their steps make no sound against the path, wrapped in a heavy cloak, lantern unlit. They move slowly, not with weariness, but with intention. Their eyes are drawn to the light in Alliard's window. The candle, the only flame still burning in the village. Soft, steady, inviting. They pause at the gate, resting one hand on the wood. It is not quite a sigh, more a release, like someone who has finally arrived. They don't knock. They don't need to. Instead, they reach into their satchel and draw out a small bundle wrapped in wool, tied with ribbon the color of old parchment. They place it carefully on the doorstep, beneath a sprig of wild thyme tucked into the stone. Then they vanish into the fog once more, leaving no sound, no trail, only a warmth in the air, like the final note of a lullaby, not yet visible, but felt. The birds do not sing, not yet. Inside, dawn begins to press softly against the horizon. They, too, are waiting. Alliard stirs beneath his blanket, eyes still closed, but breath changing, the kind of breath that rises when dreams are nearing their end. The room holds the same hush it had all night. He shifts slightly, one hand moving to the rune pouch at his side. Fingers rest upon the thread. Then, a slow inhale, and a gentle awakening. He does not startle. He never does. He wakes as he left. His eyes blink open, soft and still shaded with sleep. He lays there for a moment, watching the shadow of the beam above him, then sits up. He steps from the bed and moves toward the front of the house. He bends, picks it up gently, brushes the thyme sprig with a fingertip, bare feet on cool stone. The boards do not creak for him. They know his steps. As he passes the window, the candle greets him, still burning, still waiting. Its flame has shortened, its pool of wax now wide, but it holds steady just enough to guide the way. A Liard opens the door. The air is cold, tinged with dew. No name, only words, carefully penned in a trembling hand. It helped me find my way. He carries it to the bench and places it beside a new wick, a candle ready to be born, but soft, welcoming. He looks down. The bundle, untouched. Back inside, he sets it on the table and unwraps the wool slowly. Inside is a candle stub, one of his old, charred at one edge, faintly marked with a rune, worn smooth by time. He smiles, a low breath escaping his lips. Recognition without surprise. There's a note. I hope this one will find someone else. Liard folds the paper and places it beside his journal. Then he lifts the candle stub in his hands. It is warm from where it was held. Even unlit, it feels alive. The wax melts slowly, filling the room once again with that rich, familiar scent: lavender, beeswax, a hint of rosemary. He stirs it slowly, thinking of the traveler. Their steps, their silence, their gift. When the wax is ready, he dips the wick. Not today, perhaps not tomorrow, but the light will know. Behind him, the other candle, the one pressed with long intempered by peace, still burns. Then again, and again. Each dip is an offering, each layer a prayer without words. The candle grows, and when it is tall enough, cool enough, real enough, he presses a rune into its base, a circle inside an open path. It means to guide and to be guided. He wraps it in soft linen, ties it with sage thread, then sets it beside the door. It will wait for the one who needs it. He turns back to the old candle still burning in the window. Its flame flickers just once, then begins to draw inward. Its time is done. He walks to it, cupping the holder with both hands, and gently breathes out. The light vanishes without struggle. The wick smolders quietly, curling into darkness. He sets the holder aside and looks once more at the stars. They blink slowly, steady, as if winking to him across the ages. Lower now, but steady. As he lowers himself into the seat, he wraps a wool shawl over his lap, not for cold, but for comfort. And finally, he lets his eyes close, just for a little while. The flame watches him. The room breathes, and the light remains. The first rays of sun stretch slowly over the valley, not in a rush, but like a hand reaching gently across a quiet table. The village below begins to stir, though no doors open yet. The birds test their morning voices with cautious chirps, and chimney smoke curls into the sky like whispered thoughts. Inside the cottage, Liard remains in his chair, eyes closed, wrapped in a hush that lingers like morning mist. The flame beside him has gone out, but the warmth hasn't. It clings to the stones, to the air, to the worn fabric of the shawl across his knees. His breath is soft, steady, somewhere in between, the space where dreams drift slowly away and memories take their place. On the table nearby, pressed with a rune so gentle, so tender, it's almost imperceptible. A symbol only a few know used for transitions, for thresholds, for moments of pause between what was and what will be. It is not lit, not yet, because some candles are meant only for beginnings, and this one will wait until someone arrives who needs that start. Outside, a figure moves along the path from the woods, not the traveler from before. Another, younger. Their steps are hesitant, but sure. They carry a satchel heavy with tools, wax-stained cloth, glass jars, vials of crushed herbs. They walk like someone following a calling, not loud, not urgent, but constant. As they near the gate, they pause, take a breath, and look up at the cottage. Their eyes linger on the window where once a candle burned. Their hands trembled just once before they step forward. Through the gate, up the path, toward the door that now stands slightly open, as if waiting. The old man stirs gently in his chair, a breath lifting his chest. His lips curve faintly, not quite a smile, but close. He doesn't need to open his eyes to know. A new candle, a new story, waiting to be lit. The one meant to carry the light forward has come. A new keeper. The young traveler steps quietly inside, eyes adjusting to the amber hush of the candlelit room. The scent of melted wax, dried thyme, and old wood surrounds him like a welcome. They say nothing at first. Oh, leave in, deep and slow. The way someone does when they've finally arrived at a place that feels right. Iliard remains still, his presence like an ember that no longer needs to glow to warm the room. The traveler notices the candle on the table, the one marked with the threshold rune. They understand. Some part of them always has. They move closer, placing their satchel gently by the hearth, careful not to disturb the silence. And in that quiet, they sit across from Ali, not to ask questions, not yet, but to be present, to bear witness. The light shifts, just like the morning sun, filtering through the window, meeting the warmth of the candlelight in a delicate braid. Time pauses. No clock marks it, no bell tolls, only the slow inhale of one breath and the soft exhale of another. Then, with a hand as steady as memory, Iliard opens his eyes. They meet the traveler's gaze. No words pass, just a nod, and knowing. And in that moment, something changes. The flame rises a little taller. The air thickens with promise. The passing has begun. In the hours that follow, Iliard speaks gently. He names each herb, each tool, each symbol pressed into wax with purpose. He tells of the owl and the girl, the notes left folded by strangers, the rituals known only to keepers. The traveler listens, heart open, fingers itching to learn, to remember, to carry forward. And when the sun has stretched past the rooftop and the shadows grow long across the stone floor, Iliard places his hands on the travelers. Chamomile, rose, a pinch of cedar ash. They do not speak as the candle is formed. Together, they dip a wick into fresh, fragrant wax. No words are needed. By the time it cools, night has returned. And outside, above the hills, the stars begin to blink into being. Iliard lights the new candle, places it gently on the sill. Its flame rises true, steady, full of breath. It is the traveler's first light, their beginning, a candle of becoming. Iliard watches the flame dance in the glass, then turns away. He no longer carries the pouch. It now rests with the traveler, and as he walks to the back of the cottage, the final candle in his keeping burns low. Not out of sadness, but completion. In the quiet that follows, the traveler lights a corner candle, trims the wick. The candlekeeper's secret lives end not hidden, but whispered, prepares the herbs. And in that simple act, the story continues. In light, in warmth, in every quiet room where wax meets flame, and something forgotten remembers